Smith.
I'd like to preface my comments with first saying that my brother and niece and I are all alumni of Lehigh, and my daughter was a high school scholar at Lehigh, and we're all very grateful for the valuable education we received there. I'm very familiar with all the great things they do in the community, and I'm very grateful for that also, having worked at Donegan School at one point while I was a grad student at Lehigh. That being said, I do have a lot of concerns, even about the temporary closure. One is the proximity to Brocco Middle School, and I think it's a good point to think about, you know, we're talking about the pedestrian safety of college kids, but working in a high school and working with middle school kids at times, I worry about their maturity level, especially with their pedestrian safety, and I'm concerned about having increased traffic in the Brocco area. There's also St. Peter's Church that borders the university, and I worry about the traffic for those people in that congregation. Also, a concern is the south side is so congested already. All I heard about from when I spoke to people about this is we need more streets on the south side, not less. We're also looking at another 72-unit apartment building is going to be built on 3rd Street with not as many parking spots as there are going to be apartments. So that's going to be increased issue with parking as well as with traffic. Another thing that is really important to me as well, I think walkability is awesome. I live downtown Bethlehem and I love it because I can walk everywhere, but for many people, walkability is not an option. We have a good percentage of the population of people with physical disabilities as well as an aging population. I know myself, I have gone to many events at Zoner and at some of the buildings right on Packer Avenue for lectures with some of my friends who are older, and if I wasn't able to drop them off at the door, they would have probably been impeded from attending some of those events. So that's a concern to me. With the closure, again, I think it would be great for Lehigh, but I have concerns about the community, even it being temporary. And I wonder that it's not an extreme jump. I wonder why we can't look at maybe doing a very sophisticated crosswalk like they did at Moravian on Elizabeth Avenue. I've heard nothing but positives about that crosswalk. It's very sophisticated and that traffic can see it. I drive by there almost every day and people do stop and they adhere to it. So it's a really plus for the students as well as the drivers. There's also, you know, overpasses and walkways that many universities have. As a guidance counselor, I visit many universities, so I'm fortunate. And I think of all the universities within cities that, for example, UPenn and NYU and Drexel and University of Sciences, and they have challenges also, but they get around that by the crosswalks and they build overpasses. So I'm wondering if we're not taking an extreme leap by looking at closing the road versus looking at other alternatives. I also think about the Broad Street closure, which was one that comes to my mind, that it was probably one that I'm most familiar with, and you know, that was not successful, so that also is a concern. So I just have a lot of questions. Perhaps in the future I would be more inclined to agree with this. If we can, you know, enhance the Hilly Hill Bridge and look at 2nd Street. I know myself, I'm on the south side a lot, and I think 2nd Street is the best kept secret because I use it all the time to avoid 3rd and 4th because it is constantly congested. So unfortunately I'm going to be voting no on the temporary closure for all the reasons that I just described. Thank you.